Welcome to the Mindful Return podcast. I'm Kelly Tuttle, a retired neurology nurse practitioner and brain injury survivor. Together, we'll explore practical tools and real stories to help you rebuild focus, confidence, and a meaningful life after a brain injury. Hello and welcome to the Mindful Return podcast. I'm Kelly Tuttle, your host, and I'm excited that you're here today. On this episode, I'm going to talk about my favorite subject, journaling. And the reason why I enjoy talking about journaling and recommend journaling is that I felt like it was such a huge component of my recovery after my brain injury. And on this podcast, I'm going to explain several key points that I want to share with you. One is that your journal will help you get to know your brain injury symptoms and what makes your brain injury symptoms worse, what makes them better. It will help you put words to your symptoms, instead of saying, I just don't feel good, or I just have dizziness. Your journal will help you be able to say, well, I have dizziness when I watch action shows on TV. And so then your provider's going to know, oh, okay, this person is having difficulty tracking objects with their vision. So it really helps you get those symptoms honed down so that you can better communicate them with your brain injury specialist. If strategies and tools that have been recommended to you are working or not. And what happens sometimes is that new symptoms will emerge as other symptoms resolve. For example, if you had a shoulder dislocation with your brain injury, you're going to be in a lot of pain because of that shoulder dislocation. And you may be at home resting, recovering. But when you go back to work after your shoulder has healed, and the pain is controlled, you are no longer resting, but now you're using the cognitive part of your brain at work, and you're going to then notice maybe some new symptoms such as difficulty with short-term memory or planning or getting motivated, initiating yourself to start a project, those things. So your journal is going to be your external tool to help you better articulate those symptoms to your specialist and note the time when they arrive and what makes them better and what makes them worse. Help you get directed to the specialists and therapists who can help you with those symptoms. So that is like a big component of knowing your brain and what it's going through and what it needs. And that's why this journaling, this self-monitoring, this external tool for self-monitoring and memory is going to be helpful in getting you to the right specialist for the right symptom. The other thing that is nice about a journal is that it documents the progression of your recovery. And so it's nice to be able to look back at your previous journal entries and be encouraged to see how far you've come. Like, for example, my journal, I was able to look back and just remember there was a time I couldn't make toast and coffee at the same time. I would make the coffee, put the bread in the toaster, walk away and sit on the couch and wonder why I was hungry. And my husband was wondering, why are all these pieces of dried bread sitting in the toaster? Well, because I would forget that I had started the toast, or I would leave my coffee mug somewhere and couldn't find it. So it's kind of nice to look back and just see how far you've come. And your journaling will help you do that, especially if you're on days where you're frustrated with your recovery, you feel like you're not getting better, that you've plateaued. It's nice to be able to look back at previous entries and just see how well you've come along and how you are slowly but surely getting better and stronger. Your journal will help you manage neurofatigue, which is a common symptom after a brain injury. And this is unbelievable fatigue and an exhaustion despite how much sleep and rest you get. And it's usually brought on by minimal activities such as just taking a shower. So it's real important when you're recovering from your brain injury, and if you end up living with neurofatigue, to get to know your neurofatigue and what worsens it, and Also, what are the things that are in your daily activity that put more of a burden or a tax on your limited bank of energy? And your journal will help you get to know what those issues or challenges that seem to deplete your battery faster than other issues. When I was journaling, I learned that emotional stress was a big drain on my limited brain energy. So if I was going to have a stressful meeting at work, then I would make sure I was rested before the meeting and then to set aside time to recover after that meeting and not pack my schedule with other commitments such as meeting with friends on the weekend. Instead, I would just use the weekend just to recover from that emotional stressor at work. Your journal is also a safe space for self reflection. And it's good to kind of get to know your emotions, especially if you have issues with emotional management and mood swings or symptoms of anxiety or depression. You can monitor the changes in your mood and what makes you more irritable or what led up to a burst of anger. And you can look back on that time where you're not so happy with the emotional control you had and decide, well, what might have triggered it? Was it because I was tired? Was it because I didn't take a break? Was it because I didn't get a good night's sleep the night before? And you could self reflect on what kind of increased your risk for that emotional instability and how to prevent it in the future. Or you tried a technique that your mental health provider shared with you and it didn't work. And so you can make a note to discuss this in the future with your mental health support person and maybe try a different strategy or technique. So it's really a great space to kind of just put down your feelings and also just to get them out. And and it could be quite cathartic to be able to do that. Just really put down how you're feeling, see the words that you're writing, feel the emotions that you are going through, and getting them out on paper and kind of thinking about them will make them seem more manageable and not so big and scary if they sit in your head and just swirl around as you ruminate over them. How it helps you lighten your mental load is it can be an external memory tool where you can jot notes of things that you would like to get done. Say the laundry, you want to take that basket of laundry up to your bedroom and put it away. You can write that down. But at the time that you saw that it needed to be done, you didn't have the energy or the time to do it, but you can put it on your list for a later time or for the next day to try to get it done. It's kind of hard to remember little things like that when you're recovering from a brain injury and you feel like you're like having to hold really tight onto that memory so you don't lose it. And if you are able to just jot it down in your journal in a to-do list or a reminder spot, then you don't have to hold that thought or that memory in your brain, and that can save your limited brain energy and help you with lightening that mental load. And your journal can help you with time management. So you can sit down and figure out, well, how long is it going to take me to get certain things done? Say, for example, you want to leave the house for an appointment, but there's a couple things you want to get done before you leave for your appointment. You can sit down and calculate that time frame and create a schedule and then reference it as you're getting ready for that doctor's appointment by checking it against the clock and your progress on each thing. And that helps with your time management and arriving on time to your appointments and engagements. I kind of talked about this a little bit. Your journal will help you manage your thoughts and make them seem less scary once you get them out of your head and onto paper. But it will also help when you write down your thoughts on paper. It helps you understand what your thoughts are and your feelings better. And you are able to understand them better and put words to them, then you're going to be able to communicate them better with others. So this benefit of your journal can help you maintain and preserve your relationships with your family and friends and colleagues at work. Your journal can also be a place where you store all your medical information, your therapist's visit notes, and written notes about recommendations all in one spot. And therefore, you won't lose them. You'll be able to review them when needed and refresh your thoughts of what the recommendations were, any future appointments, making sure you put them in your calendar, and any recommendations such as techniques and tools to use that you're going to try next. So it's a great spot to keep all that information together, because after a brain injury, you can end up needing to see several specialists and doctors, and it's hard to keep them all straight. Even without a brain injury, in your journal, you can write the doctor's name down, what department they're in, and when's the last time you saw them, what was recommended at that appointment. And then you take your journal with your medical information, and then if you see a different therapist or a different doctor, then you can just say, let them know, Dr. So-and-so from such and such department recommended that I do this, or have you seen their note, or did you see that they ordered an MRI? That kind of thing. And it helps keep it all together in one place. And when you're early in your recovery, in your journaling, I recommend one of those notebooks that has folders that you can file paperwork in. So you can put your therapist's notes and exercises in there. You can put doctor's notes and recommendations. And if they write you an order for a test or a diagnostic test, then you can keep that in your folder and take it to the lab or the diagnostic testing center that you're going to have that done at. So it really helps you keep organized. And then it also timestamps when you've seen various therapists, and you can look back and just kind of see how you've improved also with each doctor's appointment and therapist appointment. Your journal can also be a tool to help you get to know yourself and your new brain. And one of the examples I used was that I used my journal one day. I drew a line down the middle of a paper, and on the left side, I wrote all the things that were important to me and goals and passions before my brain injury. And then on the right side, I wrote all the things that I had gained from my brain injury. And like, for example, on the right side before my brain injury, I was really goal oriented, loved checking things off the list, was out of the home, volunteering in the community, and I was planning on going back to school to become a lawyer. And then on the right side of the paper, and I wrote, I had a more appreciation for a slower pace in life, more gratitude, more mindful presence in my life. I felt like I was even more compassionate and empathetic for others. And I appreciated my home and my gardening and being with family and friends. And when I looked at both those lists before and after the brain injury, I realized I really liked the person I was becoming, and things that I knew I wouldn't be able to do in the future, like, for example, go back to school to become a lawyer. I was able to let that go because through my journaling, I also realized that my values and my passions changed. I found myself more valuing time with family and friends and having experiences and learning, and getting a law degree was not consistent with those new values and passions. And so I was able to make new goals and basically really get in touch with my own North Star, what was important to me. And I believe that this exercise and this journaling really helped me kind of reflect on what had happened to me, kind of go through the grieving process. Not that I'm saying the grieving process is linear, and I'm not saying that there's a start and there's an end. It'll be a continual process, but it really helped me kind of get through those really dark days when there was a lot of uncertainty of how well I would recover and how soon I would recover. And yeah, my journal really helped me get through those days and just kind of let go of my old self. Like after your brain injury, like the first thing you want to do is just get back to your old life, right? But it's not always possible for everyone to do that. So you have to be able to let that go in order to move forward. And I don't mean, when I say let go, I don't mean forget about your old self or that your old self wasn't important or that the fact that you want to be your old self is unimportant. But what I'm saying is that you shouldn't let that keep you from moving forward, keep you from encouraging the healing of your brain, keep you getting in touch with your new values and your new passions. And it's not like you can forget your old self. It's that you take it along with you, and it's okay to be sad that you're not going to be that old person. But you want to get to know the new you, get to know your new strengths, and get to know your new brain and what it takes to have it perform at its best. And therefore you'll be able to move forward, not forgetting the past, but taking it with you, because you're always going to have an underlying foundation of your old self. But you may have to learn to live with your new self. And how you're going to do that, the journaling will help you do that by, again, getting to know your new values and your passions, eventually as you get stronger and better setting new goals. So the journaling is definitely a tool to help you go through that process, which is complicated and messy, and you'll go back and forth on your grieving process. I mean, I'm like 10 years out from my brain injury, and I'm still get bummed out that I don't have enough energy to do all the things I want every day, but that's okay. It's okay to feel that way and to acknowledge those feelings, but I'm not gonna kind of I'm not going to hold on to the point where it evolves into negative and kind of angry regret. So your journal will help you develop kind of and both thinking, like, which is really healthy. So you could, like, for instance, I'm still really sad about having neural fatigue and not having enough energy to do all the things I want to do in a day. But I can be glad that my neural fatigue isn't as bad as it was initially after my brain injury. So you can be sad, and those emotions or frustrated emotions are legit, and you shouldn't bury them. You should just embrace them, acknowledge them, but also um, look at, but you don't want them to hold you back from moving forward. And so you just kind of live with, yeah, I'm sad that I have this neural fatigue, but I'm okay. It's okay because it's a lot less than it was in the past. And I've gotten really better. I've gotten even better at managing my neural fatigue, and I have gotten these things accomplished. And everything is really all about baby steps when you're making your goals. And I've been making those baby steps. So your journaling will help you deal with those emotions of being frustrated, but also encouraging yourself to be kind and to have patience. The other thing your journal can help you with is to develop a healthy lifestyle. So you can use it to monitor eating healthy, how many times you exercise per week, how many minutes, and is it time to expand that or not? How much time have you spent outside, which is really good for the brain? Did you practice mindfulness that day? How many hours did you sleep the night before? You can also know if today is going to be a good brain day or a bad brain day, and then plan based on how you're feeling at the beginning of the day. Your journal will also help you with setting goals and monitoring your progress. And so it will help you support your motivation and your focus, especially during the day. If, for example, after my brain injury, I found that I would just wander around the house like all day long and I would not actually get the things I wanted to get done. And then I would, where did all the time go? What did I do with myself today? And what I found was helpful is if I picked 3 things that I wanted to get done during the day and I wrote those 3 things down on a piece of paper. And so when I went around the house trying to get those 3 things done, say it was empty the dishwasher, make my bed, and I can't think of other dust, I guess, dust the house. See about that. So now I forgot what I just said. So laundry, forget it. Okay, let's do this again. So your journal will help you with your focus and your motivation. And one of the things that my journal helped me with was I would write down 3 things I wanted to get done during the day. And I would go through my home and I would try to get those 3 things done. And then if I saw something that wasn't on my list, what I would do is look at my list and go, that thing is that sock on the floor or that pile of clothes in the bathroom. That's not on my list today. I'm going to stick with these 3 things I wrote on my list. And that's how I was able to really focus on those 3 things I wanted to get done and not get distracted with the other things around the house that needed to get done. And then if I got all those 3 things done and I still had some energy, then I would add, I would go back to that sock because what I would do is I would look at my list and I'd go, oh, that's not one of my 3 items I want to get done today, but I'm going to write a note that it's something I do want to get done. And if I get these 3 things done, then I would look back at that list of things that I had discovered, the things that need to get done around the house. And that's how I was able to keep my focus and get my motivation going to get these 3 things done, because it really just, you can just focus on those 3 things and then push everything else aside until you get those things done. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there that can totally understand of wandering around the house, trying to get stuff done and being distracted by this or that. And then the day is done and you've got nothing done. So that was one of the things that my journal my journal helped me improve. It was getting things done and avoid being distracted by other things that popped into my vision and it grabbed my attention. And your journal can also help you with financial planning. So you can journal whether you want to continue with your current job, if you maybe want to change a job, if you change your job, what would it take to qualify for that job? So you could write those things down and put them on your goal list. Did you want to continue working your full-time hours, or do you want to go part-time, and what would that look like? Should you retire early? And if so, what changes are you going to have to make in your finances to make that goal? It can help you with managing your bills and your budget. And if you need to make the decision to downsize your home, the steps that would take to do that. And this can all be kept in your journal in one place where it's easy to find and reference and keep your focus on what needs to get done. So some of the benefits of your journal I've kind of talked about. It promotes mood and emotional management, self-awareness, knowing your physical, emotional, and cognitive limits. It helps you with your self-reflection, your self-monitoring, why a goal was not met, what do I need to do to make that goal, or what are the things or the steps I need to take to succeed. And your journal will help you lower your stress and anxiety. You can plan better with your journal. and you can get negative thoughts out of your head and onto paper and address them with whether just seeing them makes you realize that they're not real fears or realistic, or if it seems really, really challenging, taking them to your next talk therapy appointment and working that out with your specialist. Journaling also helps you develop emotional intelligence. And the emotional intelligence means that you have a better understanding of your emotions. You develop a better understanding of other people's emotions, and it improves your understanding of social cues and it promotes empathy. And some of those these are brain processes get knocked offline after a brain injury, and you're going to have to kind of work to redevelop them. And journaling will help you with that because you can analyze, like I said, your own emotions, but you can think about other people's emotions. Like, why was that person, grumpy? Did I understand why? Was it because of my behavior? And it just helps you with that self reflection. The other thing your journal can help you with is developing better skills of metacognition. And metacognition is understanding your own thought process. It is the ability to reflect on how you learn and think, noting weaknesses and strengths, and developing effective strategies. Developing your metacognition will increase your ability to develop better learning strategies and problem solving, and adjust your strategies as needed. So metacognition is actually thinking about what you're thinking. And this is a really great resilience skill to learn, because if you're thinking thoughts that you're not wanting to think, you'll be able to recognize them and then address them and take them to the right place to get help with them. And if your ability to learn has changed, then you'll be able to figure out what strategies best support your brain's capacity to learn. So improving your emotional intelligence and your metacognition are great ways to help improve the functioning of your brain and to encourage neuroplasticity and healing of lost connections. Though these skills are really complex, and so they're not something you would expect to be doing early in your recovery. Definitely you can do later in your recovery, especially if you're at a point where you're back to work full time, and you're exercising and you're resting well and sleeping well, doing really good. You're really far down that road of recovery, and these are skills that you would want to look at enhancing as you continue to grow and expand your cognitive abilities. So overall, journaling will help improve your cognitive functioning and help you get to know your brain and support your brain in doing the best job it can when you are out in the world and at work. Now, when you journal, it's best to do it by handwriting, by in a notebook. I really encourage that. But if you can't, then journaling through audio recordings is just as effective. And I've heard a couple of people tell me how they really benefited from audio recording. And so that is definitely an option. And if you can't, asking maybe a trusted family member or friend to journal for you your recovery until you're able to journal on your own. But looking at the benefits of handwriting just alone, the benefit of handwriting your journaling is that it engages multiple regions and processes in the brain, such as the left hemisphere of the brain. When you write, you're using phonological and linguistic brain processes and parts of your brain. For example, when you're writing, your corresponding sounds to letters, you're tracking sounds, you're using sounds to form words. When you write, you're also engaging fine motor skills and sensory awareness of your fingers. You're working on your hand and eye coordination. You're you're activating your visual spatial processes and your memory processes when you're handwriting, with your handwriting. So when you're handwriting, you're activating multiple areas of the brain. And when you do that, you're encouraging neuroplasticity. So you're encouraging that reconnection of lost connections in your brain. And with handwriting, it improves memory, learning, retention of information and comprehension of that information. And it challenges to increase the strength of your cognitive stamina. The other advantage of handwriting is it slows the process of information that you're taking in, allows you to create deeper thoughts, and it ignites creativity. And when I was researching how handwriting stimulates the brain, I also found some information on the advantages of cursive versus block writing. So with cursive writing, it increases the activation of the motor cortex and the cerebellum because it requires fine motor coordination and smooth transitions between letters. It also enhances memory retention and cognitive engagement and recruits a broader neural network as compared to block letters. But block letters also have their advantages too, because it involves lifting the pen after each letter. This stimulates different visual spatial coordination patterns and discrete motor planning. So block letter writing has its advantages too. Researchers have also found that handwriting may shape the neural architecture of the brain over time and have found it to be a valuable tool for cognitive rehab from traumatic brain injury, stroke, and neurodegenerative diseases. They also found that handwriting activates emotional processing and self-awareness, making it a good tool to help address psychological conditions such as mood disorders. Now, how to journal. So it doesn't have to be complicated. Just like I said before, recommend using a paper notebook with storage folders. You'll need a pen, and you can simply just start with writing the date and then just write anything. It just needs to be a sentence or more. If you don't know what to write, you can always draw and doodle. Those are also very beneficial to supporting your brain's healing. Like I said, handwriting is the best for your cognitive rehab, but audio or typing your words works too. Use the storage folders in your notebook to organize your medical paperwork. I do recommend journaling at the beginning of the day and at the end of the day, just to kind of set the tone for the day. And then the evening time journaling is to reflect on how your day went and if there were things that you want to improve, noting strategies that worked, or noting that maybe a situation happened because you forgot to use a strategy, and just to remind yourself for the next day to use that strategy. At the end of the day, it's also helpful to make a list of goals or tasks that you want to try to do the next day and to write your to-do list and to help you get focused during the next day. And doing it the night before is just so that it's one less task you have to do the next day. And when you're journaling at the end of the day, reflect on the day, do your problem solving, plan your next day, noting appointments and due dates, for example, for your bills, make a to-do list or a schedule also for the next day so that you have that to keep you focused when you wake up in the morning and begin your new day. And then if there are issues that pop up when you're journaling, then you need to take those to either your friends or family, counselor or your psychologist, your therapist or your doctors, or you can even take to your support group to get you help with any emotional or thought processes that just can't get up, above and beyond. I hope this episode on journaling encourages you to use this tool of journaling to help your brain heal and recover after your brain injury. So take care, get better, get stronger. You've been listening to the Mindful Return podcast with me, Kelly Tuttle. Subscribe wherever you listen and head to kellytuttle.org for brain injury recovery tools, free resources, and inspiration to help you return to work with confidence and hope.